Hello, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Catriel. Here live from Jerusalem. So, what's the topic today? So, I want to touch base on something that happens every year. And this will probably be, it's being recorded during this time of what is called Pride Month. I want to talk about what pride is, the different concepts, what it's related to, how deep can we go, and those type of things, and whatever else comes up out of this conversation. What seeds did I plant from last year? I know we talked about pride. And then, two, I feel, if I'm not mistaken, this will be released around the time that St. Pete Pride will occur. So, let's get started. So, what is Pride? Pride is a observance that happens every single year at this time, the month of June specifically, and we highlight the rainbow, and we bring awareness to different ways of expression, and it's quite a unique holiday observance, celebration. The first time we really, have a reference to the rainbow is in Noach. Noach, of course, we all know the story, but whether you're, from whatever religion you are, we have this image in our head of an old man who was sent on a mission for God. Sent on a mission being, he had one task. The world was going to be destroyed. He received this revelation from God to build an ark. An ark that would hold two of each being, allowing for life to go further, to expand. And this occurred. What essentially happened was this huge flood was coming. So, of course, he built this huge freaking ark, boat, got two of each animal, every species, and his entire family on this boat to save their lives. And then the rest of the world was literally destroyed. Now, what came out of that is 40 days and 40 nights, it's always 40, of intense rain. And remember, the world had never seen rain before. And I like to also point out that rain, water, is associated with memory. Okay? And so essentially, it's like creating new memories at this point and being drenched, the world. But so going further with this, he has to know that it's all right to come outside, right? And then, sorry, I'm having trouble with my voice right now. So then, he ends up waiting to receive the sign from Hashem, and he sends out what do you call it? A raven, and then he also sends out a dove, and brings back an olive branch, saying, "Hey, this is my peace. You're good." And he walks outside, and there's this incredible rainbow. And this rainbow is of course, connection. Keshet is the word in Hebrew, which means connection. And it's showing every single color. These fractals of could be seen of different expressions of God, different worlds maybe. And so that's our first reference point of a rainbow. So why is this important in regards to pride? Well, that is the main symbol for pride, is that universal. The story of Noah was a universal story, a receiving of a specific message at a worldly view. And so for pride to have this symbol, it is saying universally, we want to express ourselves. There are 70 nations, and that originally was associated with like the rainbow, right? But now we're saying eternal expression, from all walks of life. And this is really focusing on, yes, expression, but love. What's interesting is it has this Leo type energy to it, because a lot of people tend to be very flamboyant with their expression, which is the space to do this. But, of course, not everybody in the world agrees with pride. And it's all in how we look at it, okay? Yes, sexuality is thrown in there. Gender identity is thrown in there. But the root of this is something so special. Is recognizing each one of us for who we are. That we all have a right to live here on this planet. And we also have the choice to be anything we want to be. And Pride Month gives that. Now, I realize that, for instance, in America, it's become commercialized, essentially. A lot of it is not its true essence anymore. And really, if we look back at the history of how any of this began, look at the 1960s with Stonewall. And Stonewall, had to do with the gay community and being able to live freely and choosing to love who you love. And we got to remember something here. So yeah, the Pride Month falls in June. June incorporates two different zodiac energies. Gemini, okay, the twin, and of course Cancer, which is all about the feeling and also creative energies, right? And the primordial, being within us. So it depends on the location in the world on which you choose, to express this energy, at what time of the month. And so in St. Pete, it would be closely aligned with the Cancer energy. So it's very emotionally filled, right? But for other areas in the world, like Jerusalem, we just had a pride parade go right down my street. And if you get a chance, you can go on my Facebook and check that out and what that looks like. And it's very different from in America. It's kind of taking it back to the original pride on when, um, like the Stonewall energy and and in like the very beginning of this movement. And the thing is going with that Gemini energy. We all have two sides to us, okay? Probably more than that, but we're gonna go with this twin energy for a moment, okay? We have let's look at it from a if we had a female and a male twin within us, a divine masculine, a divine feminine, and it wants to express itself. And here's the thing: is this masculine and feminine energy is not always expressed in the physical. As we know from Kabbalah, there are four different levels of consciousness, not including, the Ein Sof, which everything came from. So we have a spiritual aspect to ourselves, okay? We have which is associated with Asilut. We have uh, the mental or intellectual level, which is Bria. Then we have the emotional level, in that it's Yesera. And then we have the physical level, and that is Asiya. Why is this really important? Because it's showing us something. If you look at the Sephiroth and we look at this model, we see that there are attributes that are aligned with the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And then we have the middle points, okay? So we have Chokmah, we have Chesed, we have Netzach. They're all on the divine masculine output energies. Now you can break anything down into twos, so just work with me on this. And then we have on on the left side, the divine feminine attributes. Again, it's a receiving energy, it's an input. So let's not focus too much on the gender, but for the parallel, it's important. That gives us Bina, Gevurah, and Hod. Then in the middle is this perfect balance, okay? That has the energy of, yes, Keter, technically Da'at, which there's also Tiferet, Yesod, and Malchut. Now, we can fold this into one nice package, right? And so, as we do that, we see this combining of energy, the balance, right? Okay, so as we know, we don't always get everything in a physical format. How many of us would say, okay, I have more of a masculine way of approaching something, and say it's more of our logic, right? And how we experience things. Or maybe we're not so much into that, and we feel more aligned with the feminine energy, the receiving of things. And I was toying with this during Shavuot and everything. It's like the receiving of information and then the seeking of it. Okay? There's an input and there's an output. receiving the information, input, searching for it, actively going out. That's like very much so Netzach energy, right? Like, let's go do it, or chesed, getting it out there, right? So, that being said, our being is so uniquely designed where it's not so clear cut. And then we add in a physical layer of something. And there are even beings that are not born necessarily male or female, or they are a combination of both. And when we look in the Talmud, we have about 7 or 8 different classifications of someone's sex, okay? And so that's really important to pay attention to, because we also have references in, Adam was actually created this way. So that being said, like, that's really interesting in itself. Then let's throw in another layer. Yitzhak, the son of Abraham and Sarah, which also are considered intersex beings. Okay, let's just throw that in there. We have Yitzhak, who was essentially, there's a midrash. Midrash is a story in the Talmud of how he was more so created with divine feminine energies. And it wasn't until he was at the Akedah, which is the major story in Judaism and in Islam, that places him, on this altar, and Abraham is supposed to sacrifice him, right? It wasn't until that moment, which he didn't, obviously. It wasn't until that moment where something shook up in him, and it was like his masculine presence came to the forefront, and his feminine was washed away. And you find this interesting, because it wasn't until after that happened that he had a wife, which became Rivka, Rebecca. And so it's very interesting. So that being said, like, there was these different concepts all the way in these times. Now, like, was this accepted? Well, so here's the thing. A lot of people talk about, like, okay, Sodom and Gomorrah, blah, blah, blah. There was a huge, huge issue with Sodom and Gomorrah. It was not. It was not this idea of, two males or two females coming together. That was not the issue here. The issue was that there was a boundary of respect being broken. There were people raping each other. Okay? That is not the same thing as homosexual behavior. Okay? Homosexual literally means homogeneous. Homo, same. Okay? Hetero is different. Therefore, it's not necessarily about, things being bad in regards to same or different in regards to the Sodom and Gomorrah story. The issue was that horrible things were happening based off of not respecting one another. Which, if we can take this and look at this and draw awareness to this, when we look at things that go on with pride or any other type of, we're going to use pride as an example, okay? if you are overstepping in someone's boundary and getting into their personal space and saying in hateful things, or doing hateful things, that is the energy being mirrored from Sodom and Gomorrah. And so, yes, like, Hashem created us to have this balance, to be able to share that with another being and create. And yes, create life. But here's the thing, is like, there's so many different types of creation to create with another person, whether in a romantic relationship or a platonic relationship. And this idea of having to fit inside a specific box in order to accomplish certain things is such limited thinking, because essentially we're not bound by this vessel, okay? Yeah, we have certain limitations, absolutely. I mean, we won't be able to float on this earth because of gravity, okay? Limitation, we weigh too much, okay? We cannot fly. We can not do a lot of things, And I say that very, very lightly because I'm not even factoring in our mind here, okay? Right? Even that is a limited belief, okay? But what is important to notice is that we can choose to change the system or bring awareness to truth here, okay? And it's this idea of love, okay? Love is expansive. It knows no boundaries unless we give it boundaries. And so if your personal boundary, of course, is limited in the physical realm of I only like same or I only like different, then that is a boundary that it needs to be respected at a personal level. But once you take that personal boundary and expand it into a mass belief and force others to believe in this, that's where we have an issue, because that force energy, okay, is what is connected to the hate. Because what comes out of that force, and so essentially we've talked a lot about tikkun here. I mean, we can literally look at this Bereshit story in Vayira, which happens to be my parsha for Bar Mitzvah, and look at how the different energies actually got to where they are. But what is important here is to draw awareness to those so that we can clear them up, so that we can heal them. And so, Hashem gives us free will, okay? And so by doing that, we have the free will to do something great with it, to align it to divine will. And part of that is allowing Hashem to be the judge in specific things, you know? So, like, yes, we have, you know, we have certain things we need to judge here on the earth, okay? It would be that negative energy that is, like we're talking about, this hate, right? We have a choice. We always have a choice to do that or not. But that judgment, right, like of holding someone accountable for their actions is very important. But here's the thing, is that's going on and affecting multiple people at a multiple level of this particular energy of hate. When all, you know, this section of people want is just to be loved. Now, I will say, on the other side of things, the ultimate goal here is expansive love. Now, if you're in this category of expanding this love, then it must be love. And to entice someone because you've been treated a certain way for a certain length of time also is not right. And you see this, you know, like in other ways too, like political and all of that stuff, right? So, like, there's always a way to re-examine things like this. You know, just because a group of people have created a specific event for a certain intention does not mean it cannot be have a misused intention, because I've seen it, and that's not okay. And so it's like we have to come together as one to recognize the middle ground here, the root of the message here is that when we respect each other and we respect each other's beliefs, does not mean we have to agree. But there's a level of love that is unconditional. That is what elevates. As we look at the different words of love, energies of love. In the Greek, for instance, I'm going to go here first. In the Greek, we have, I can't list them all, but I'll do my best to go as many as I can. We have agape, which is what I just spoke of. It is a unconditional love that can be, that literally, it's just, you love someone because you just do, because they're human, because they exist, which is beautiful. And that's the level of love, and the style of love, the vibration of love, and frequency of love we're asking for as a world to bring into wholeness, a shalom, a peace. And then we have a brotherly love is what it's called, philos. And honestly, that doesn't even give it its depth there, because it's more so an intellectual love. And a lot of people, as we talk about pride, there are different forms of labels and stuff, and I'm not one for labels, but people like labels to identify things, and I respect that. And you know, like, this is how we define things, and it's not being confounded by these labels. I feel like knowing they exist, knowing what their definition is, and then letting that go. That's how I'm going to approach that. So, philos, this intellectual love, is this love that someone connects at a mental level and intellectually, and that is something that we saw in, of course, Greek times, like with Socrates, and a lot of people loves someone else for this level of intellectual love, being able to be on the same wavelength with someone, you know, and that's really important. And so the attraction point for people can be this intellectual love. It does not have to be brotherly, and I think I think that right there says something. It's more so speaking of a homogeneous energy, a same like energy, that you can share this with someone who is of the same sex, and it can, um, you know, be grouped with other types of love. Okay, um, and so there we go. Where's that one? Then of course there's um, eros. Eros is, we've heard of, kind of like this Cupid energy, right? Like you shoot the arrow. Eros is this erotic, passionate, deep love that is often associated with physical pleasure. Okay, and so like we're seeing here, especially how I just mapped everything out in the Sephirot, the trio, Kabbalah tree of life, that these same concepts are interwoven in the Greek, just in a different way of approaching it, you know, um, and so that there's that type of love as well, um, and it's attractive, okay, an attraction. And so at a physical level. Then, of course, there's pragmatic love. Pragmatic love is someone who, let's just say, like, you're in a relationship with someone for like 9 years. Um, you have a certain level of love for that person that is such long standing. This can be seen in friendships too, you know, that you love someone so deeply because you have built a solid foundation with someone for a extended length of time. And so there's that type of love as well. Um, I wish I knew them all right now, but I can't remember them all. So that's at least 4 different types of love, and I know there's at least 3 to 4 more in the Greek. That just shows how limited the English language is in regards to the word love. Now, I want to shift gears a little bit and look from a different lens, from a Jewish perspective, from the Hebrew word of love, okay, which is ahava. Ahava is a very unique word because it is a verb, it is a action, not I'm in love. That doesn't exist in the Hebrew. It is the receiver or the doer. So, in order for love, ahava, to work, you need 2 different beings in order to have this occur. And that is one, the giver is giving. It's because love is literally to give. That is literally what it means in the Hebrew. And it also is calling in that person who is receiving that action to give. And essentially, that, to me, how I interpret it is this deepness that's so deep within you, this special gift that is of a spiritual level, intellectual, mental level, a heart level, like emotional level, a soul level, a sacred level of like sacred space and the sharing of that, and also of the physical being able to give that energy, that expression, all of that to someone else, that energy to someone else to receive. And this can be, someone create, and here's the thing is, this could be a romantic relationship. This could be a platonic relationship. And the feelings behind that is not confounded by whether, someone loves you romantically or not. Because it's the purest form, being gifted. And so not really, when you get to a place like this within yourself to give this energy to someone else and say it is romantic, and it's not necessarily reciprocated in the way of wanting a relationship in a romantic way, it's okay, because you essentially were giving something so deep within yourself that you had already given to your being. And it was unconditional at this point. So that's why I really love this interpretation of love from a Hebrew perspective, because it incorporates so many different aspects that are shown in the Greek that are, kind of one, in the Greek it's stating them, separately, but in the Hebrew you can use the Greek to express all of these, right? And how it can be in one package in the Hebrew. And so I feel like this is a really important piece to this pride topic, because if we all could get to a space where we can give that to every single person on this planet, okay, this depth, this giving of love, ahava, then the labels of gender and the meat suit, whether female, male, or neither, or both, wouldn't matter. You would see soul for soul, heart for heart, being for being, human for human. And I say human because there is a very specific a very specific word is in human that I love, and it's driving this point home. Is love is a spectrum. It's like a rainbow. We as humans are hues, different colors, just like the rainbow, that have souls that are different colors, like the rainbow. have different hearts, different colors of the heart, like the rainbow. And we can share that and beyond. And we can share that with one another. And we're now at equal footing of Hugh, man, and Hugh, man. Being, not man, not just man. Being, Hugh, being. That connects us all together as one, as Hashem created us. So I thank you for listening to this podcast based on Pride Month. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions in regards to this topic and the deeper meanings of pride and what that means. I only could speak as much as, what's in this episode. There's so many more levels to this. There's so many more layers to this. And I only have one perspective. So please, if you'd like to either come on the show, go to energyspeaks.com. Go to my offerings services, chakra. I think it's called Chakra Services on there. And you can scroll down to where it says podcast, hit that button, and it'll send me an email. If you need that email, Kevin, Kevin, DEWITT 1107 @gmail.com. And you can always go on to my Facebook page as well. Energy Speaks. You can type that in and you'll see. It'll have the official logo on there of Energy Speaks. The heart with the turquoise and the pink. And literally get involved with the podcast community on there. Leave a comment. Let's get some dialogue going. These are really important subjects that I'd love to share with all of you and really hear some dialogue. And of course, if you are interested in any of the services that I have, please go on Energy Speaks by Catriel.com, and you'll see different astrological and soul offerings, and jewelry and art and conscious services that I offer. I thank you again for listening, divine, beautiful souls. This is Energy Speaks Podcast with your host, Catriel, over and out. Shalom.